We can thank one of our recent saints, Saint Pope John Paul II, for giving us the luminous mysteries. So throughout the year, we can contemplate today's scene in the gospel, the Transfiguration. Some of us pray those luminous mysteries on Thursdays. And of course, there's the baptism of the Lord, the wedding of Cana, the proclamation of the kingdom, and then the fourth one is the Transfiguration, leading into the fifth luminous mystery, which is the institution of anybody remember? The Eucharist. Very good. Okay, so we're able to have this image in front of us throughout the year. This beautiful scene on top of Mount Tabor. If you've been to Enchanted Rock, reminds me a little bit of Enchanted Rock, a big dome that emerges up. This one's much larger than Enchanted Rock. It goes up 1,600 feet. And unlike Enchanted Rock, it's got vegetation on it. Okay, Enchanted Rock is a bare rock, literally a rock. That's why we say Enchanted Rock in Texas. It's a beautiful spot there in northern Galilee, rising up out of the plains. And I want to go back to what was happening at the very beginning of this chapter. Those words are not included in our gospel, but the beginning of Matthew 17, we have these words, 6 days later, and then the Transfiguration. 6 days later, then what? What was happening before? Well, 6 days before, Jesus pulled his disciples aside in Caesarea Philippi and said, let's have a conversation. So they've been with him. They've been watching all through the Gospel of Matthew. This is what Jesus does. If you watch The Chosen, you can see some of those earlier scenes where Matthew is the scribe, right? Trying to capture what Jesus is preaching as he's doing the Sermon on the Mount. How are we organizing the people as they come around Jesus? What's going on? How are we going to control the crowds? You've got those control freaks in Jesus' disciples group, right? And then he takes a pause with them 6 days before the Transfiguration. He says to them, who do the crowds say that I am? And they give him an answer. Well, basically, you're a prophet. They say you're a prophet. Maybe the Messiah, a prophet. Great. Y'all, you guys in front of me, my disciples, who do you say that I am? Now, we know that St. Peter, he's that kid in the class who always has his hand up first, right? He's always got the answer, and a lot of the time he's got the right answer, but not all the time. In that scene, 6 days before, Peter says, you are the Christ, you are the Son of the living God. And Jesus says, you got it, Peter. Gold star, you got it. Very good, the Christ, the anointed one, the one that's promised maybe that the Jewish people were expecting would reorganize the ancient tribes of Israel, maybe cast the Romans out. You are the Christ. You are the Son of God. Oh, this is a new understanding, one that could get Peter stoned for blasphemy. How could the Holy One be here? Peter recognizes this is the Holy One of Israel. This is the divine presence. Then from that glorious moment of understanding, Jesus, 6 days earlier, says, all right, I'm going to go suffer and die. What? Yeah, I've got to go to Jerusalem. It's going to be a journey. It's different. My messianic journey is different than what you expected. And here Peter, again, he has his hand up first. No, you cannot do this, Jesus, thinking the Father would never let the Son go to Jerusalem to be killed. How does Jesus respond? Get thee behind me, Satan, right? You're back in time out, Peter. So sorry, class star for a minute, and then, we got more work to do with you. So they marinate in this understanding for 6 days, and then a very special moment occurs, a moment of encounter with Jesus. Now, as they go up there, and we have the description of what happens, we can think maybe this is a scene of the resurrected Lord, because he appears different to people after the resurrection. Maybe this is a scene of what it's like in heaven with God and this glorious light. But maybe it's simply Jesus is just pulling back the curtain for who he already is, right with his disciples all the time. This glory, God's glory, right here in our midst. We can recall Moses took 3 companions up to the mountain to meet the Lord thousands of years earlier, where he got the stone tablets, the 10 Commandments. And when he came down, his face was shiny. Moses, cover your face, it's shiny. You're scaring us. We can't go near God. He's holy. And then Moses and Aaron, they built the tabernacle in the desert, and God's presence rushed in. The temple in Jerusalem, the Holy of Holies, the sacred place, God's indwelling Shekinah glory now is in the person of Jesus Christ on the mountain. And of course, those three are given this beautiful glimpse because they know now they will go to Jerusalem. So Jesus is saying, keep this in mind as you pick up your cross and follow me. The cross. Lent. Our time of picking up or becoming one with our crosses, identifying what they are. I had a very different kind of encounter a year ago. I go to a retreat center, the Shrine of Our Lady of Hope in Mississippi for training, and they have stations of the cross. Each station of the cross, they're outdoors, could fill this entire area here, the sanctuary. They're huge, life-size. And one day, I found myself one afternoon going up to the steps of the crucifixion scene, and there are three very large crosses and one body. So the artist decided not to put the other two thieves, the thieves, on the sides of Jesus. So 3 crosses and one body, and there I was with Jesus on the cross. And as I sat down there, I had a grace, a moment of encounter with the Lord. A memory came back. I don't know why it was on my mind that day. A memory of middle school. My middle school was kind of fun and kind of troubling. My middle school experience for me personally, interiorly, was very difficult. I experienced things I didn't understand that led to thinking about rejection, shame, envy, difficult emotions. And those things stayed with me for many years. Now here I am in my 50s, sitting below the trees of Mississippi, the outdoor stations of the cross, and the grace is for him, Jesus, to say, Tim, I was there. I was there. Now I knew that intellectually, but in my experience, something settled into my soul. A place of woundedness, right? Let the Sacred Heart in. And I could take that place of pain and give it back to the Lord. You see, when Jesus says, come follow me, pick up your cross, and especially in Lent, he's saying, I have the glory of heaven for you, not later, but now. I have deep inner peace can be ours now, a place that moves us away. You see, what do we do when we have our wounds? What are our wounds? It's those things that cause us to move in the direction of the 7 deadly sins, right? It's easy to think about the sin, objectively wrong behavior, or habits that are wrong, bad, and lead us away from God, and we want to develop the virtue. But we sometimes can take a minute and pause and think about the why. Why am I moving in this direction? My wounds. It might be a thought, feeling, or desire that doesn't leave me alone, that I wish I could change and I cannot. It might be something about myself physically. Maybe I have an illness or a disease that I bear, that I carry. Maybe it's a psychological wound. Maybe it's an experience of life where I did the very best I could, but I got to see and witness things I wish I'd never known in my experience. And those come back. In the dark of night, they haunt me. Maybe it is I have experienced deep woundedness, and now I have this addictive behavior over here that I cannot stop on my own strength and power. And Jesus says, I want to invite you now in Lent to let me in. Show me this place. Because nobody was there when I was at the foot of the cross. I was alone. I was all by myself. Nobody there to laugh at me or point a finger. And that's not what Jesus does from the cross. He looks with love and says, I see. I see, just like he did with the disciples as they wrestled and tried and got to figure out who he was. He was always patient with them, but always moving them forward. So we have this opportunity in Lent to not hide that difficult place from the Lord. And this is the place where sins begin to resolve. We let God's love and mercy into the place of our pain. What does he do? He begins to give us a new direction. We begin to realize, I might not need to reach out to this particular vice, 7 deadly sins, to cover over that pain anymore. His gaze, his penetrating gaze, is sufficient to see me, to love me where I am, and to heal. And guess what? In that place, it's quiet at the foot of the cross. The voice of the enemy, you are this, you are that, the half-truths of the accuser of the brethren, those voices are silent. The voices we like to attach to other people, or other spirits, they're silent at the foot of the cross. And that's why our faith is so rich in meaning for true human life and flourishing. So in Lent, we have these practices: prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. I propose that part of our prayer is not to avoid some of the difficult places inside. Yes, we can work and do our things to do better in the spiritual life, But Jesus' gaze is one that invites an invitation in. To name the cross, what is it? Lord, I can't change this thing. I keep trying to change this relationship and I cannot. Whatever it is, just let him see. Let him be with us in that. Fasting. Fasting is an interesting thing because it's something we offer to God, a form of self-denial. And it's interesting to know, we don't die when we deny ourselves something. We don't go poof, it's so hard, and disappear. We actually become a little stronger. There's a virtue to that. But the other interesting thing is we begin to let Jesus into our place of pain, and we allow him to transform our suffering. We're not sinning anymore in our suffering. There's virtue in offering our cross to him. It's called merit. When we suffer in a place of grace, in a state of grace, and we don't turn to deadly sin to treat life, our own suffering becomes Christ's, and it multiplies grace for others. Merit means we cooperate with Christ in the ongoing salvation of the world. It means that we become holier, which is a beautiful thing, but even more importantly, our own sufferings become a place of strength for Christ to save other people. It's no longer about ourselves. But in order to have merit, we must remain in a state of grace. So fasting, very rich area. Almsgiving, if you read the wisdom literature of the Old Testament, it's very clear. Give alms and save your soul. So we want to save our soul, give alms, right? This is the time we don't rationalize, should I help this person or that person? What are they going to do with my money? We simply look at the need in front of us and say, yes, who are you? What is your name? How can I pray for you? Can I buy you a sandwich, a shirt, whatever it is? We don't try and figure out all the math on that. Lent is a time we simply do that thing and we help others. As we continue our journey, Lent's kind of long. Week 2, we got many more weeks to go. Let us continue to lean into these Lenten practices, but remember that the Transfiguration is given to us this day to spur us on. Those 3 disciples were told, don't say much about this. They had to treasure those things in their heart, just like Mary treasured much in her heart. And as they made their way to Jerusalem, they could begin to see as leaders of his disciples, men, women, those who are following Jesus, it might not make sense as we follow Christ all the way, but pick up our cross, follow him. And finally, remember those very beautiful words in John's Gospel at the Last Supper. When asked, Jesus, can we see the Father? And what does he say? If you have seen me, you have seen the Father.